Well, good morning, church. It's an incredible privilege to be having this chance to share this with you all. I'm really excited for this, so thank you for allowing me to have the chance to do this. My name is Jonathan Jeewoon, and most of you probably knows me as Jee, as Pastor Phil mentioned, and there's a specific reason why I share my full name with you, and so that'll be revealed later on. So back in 2019, I hurt my back, and I needed to see a massage therapist. And so I made a number of Google searches, and I found one that really stood out to me. And the reason it stood out was because it was about $5 cheaper than all the other ones. And to a broke college student, that's like $1 million. And so it was the easiest decision I could have made. And so when I went in on the day of my appointment, I was greeted with what seemed to be an interesting spread of handmade backpacks and necklaces. And so, of course, when the appointment starts, I asked, what's the deal with the backpacks? And so what was meant to be a 30-minute massage turned into a 2-hour conversation with how Chris, the RMT, he had this passion for fundraising and giving to impoverished children in Southeast Asia. And so he was sharing these wonderful things with me, and I felt like I was learning a lot, but to be honest, I was thinking most of the time, this is a really long 30 minutes. And of course it was a long 30 minutes because it was 2 hours. And so by the end of these 2 hours, I thought to myself, oh no, we're severely over time, and I signed up for a 30-minute massage, not because I wanted a short massage, but because I didn't want to pay for the full 2 hours. But here I was having to pay for 2 hours. But Chris did something that really surprised me. He actually said to me, you know what? Don't worry about the massage. It's on me. The conversation was just so wonderful. But what I want you to do is pass the kindness on forward. And so I'm thinking, wow, this is great. I got a free massage, nice little life lesson. This is a pretty sweet deal. It doesn't get better than this. But it actually got better. He told me, you know what? I think your back is kind of messed up, but I think I can actually fix it. Why don't you come in every single day for the next 2 weeks on me? And you know what? I'm actually booked up for the next 2 weeks. I'll open up my shop early just for you. Can you come in every single day for the next 2 weeks at 6 a.m.? I'll try my best to fix your back. And most of you are probably thinking the same thing I was thinking. This just doesn't make sense. It made no business sense. I was a total stranger. But I think God often disassembles our human expectations and shows up in the most unexpected of places. And so there's a small handful of times when, without a shred of a doubt, I truly believe that God has spoken to me before, and this was undoubtedly one of those times. For the next 2 weeks, God spoke through Chris, and he just shattered my entire lens on money and restructured my heart around giving. He showed me the joy that resided within giving. It was almost like the puzzle pieces were there, but they were never put together. And it was these series of 2 weeks of conversation that allowed this to happen. And so he shared with me things like, people often don't feel the need to help those on the other side of the world because we can't see them physically. There's this disconnect. But these children are just as real of human beings, worthy of love as we are. We just happen to be born into privilege when we easily could have been born into their shoes. And he also says things like, we're meant to help one another on this earth. There is just one race, the human race. And honestly, and he stressed this point a lot, I just get so much joy from helping these kids, and I wish others could also experience this joy. And so by the end of these 2 weeks, I made a commitment to both God and Chris that whenever I earned a source of an income, a portion of it would go to his charity. That's how I decided I would pass the kindness on forward. And so fast forward, I begin working, and I'm consistently gladly giving to Chris, and I'm seeing an impact, and I'm feeling really good about this. But I actually found myself hesitating this 1 month. I earned a larger paycheck that month, and the 10% I promised, it was a larger number than usual. And so I actually thought to myself, what if I just gave half of this? It's still a large number. Would this be okay? And plus, no one would really know. But I was taught that when your values are clear, your decisions come easily. So I spoke with a mentor who brought me to Malachi 3:10, and in it reads something like, do not rob me, but bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. So just from that alone, I was just struck from conviction. A lot of these thoughts came into my head, am I robbing God? Other thoughts such as, is my faith in money? Do I not believe that the creator of the universe will not meet every single need that I have, but rather my sense of security is in these couple dollars? And what's so interesting is my mentor and I, we kept reading here. And it says, one of the very few times in the Bible, it says, test me in this, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will be not enough room to store it. And so at this point, I just prayed. I told God, who am I to doubt Who am I to feel as though I'm entitled to this money that belongs to you? Lord, I came naked into this world, and I will leave naked. Lord, teach me what it means to lay my treasures up in heaven and not on earth, to serve only one master, to be a responsible manager of your wealth or steward, and to be faithful to my commitments as you have been faithful and continue to be faithful to me. And so I asked God, please show me what you will do with this money. I'm curious to know what the blessing will be as well. And so I gave, and I gave joyfully. And you guys, prayer is really powerful. And God really answers prayers. So this is what happened. Weeks pass and I get a message from Chris. He often tells me where my donations went. And so there was a man in Laos who was sick with an illness with deadly consequences. Now, I won't go into the details of the illness itself due to privacy matters, but it required this complex series of medical tests and procedures. And because of the poverty of the family and the lack of quality labs in the area, the man's situation, it seemed hopeless. And so the family genuinely thought the man was about to face his deathbed. However, the funds donated, it actually allowed the man to travel to Thailand and get medical tests done. This required 3 trips back and forth from Laos to Thailand, and there were a number of hiccups along the way. But the man actually ended up getting the proper tests, procedures, and he actually ended up surviving. And so I was just blown away. This is real impact. This is a real human being. He just happens to be on the other side of the world, but this is a real impact that was created. And I couldn't believe that news that I heard, and I just thought to myself, again, this just can't get better. But Chris said, I'm actually not done. And he said something I could have never expected. He said the man was so touched by the donation that he actually asked Chris, what's the name of the donor? And the reason why he wanted it was because he wanted to name his firstborn son after the donor. And so that's actually how there's a random baby in Laos named after me today. And so the family decided to name him Baby Jonathan because they wanted it to be a unique Western name, even though I do prefer my Korean name, but that's okay. And so I didn't realize that God's blessing would not be in the form of a monetary one. I think a lot of us, we might think, if I give $1, I'll get 2 back, but that's just not absolutely the case. God's blessing had incomparable monetary value. It was an honor that I didn't deserve to be a part of. I lacked the obedience and the faith. I hesitated, and yet God still decided to use me. And so even in my foolish doubt, he brought me back to him and showed me how faithful he is. Now, just last month, I had a chance to actually visit Laos and see baby Jonathan and meet his father for the first time. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that this was really real. I got a chance to go see them in person. The money went to real people, and the result was this healthy, smiling family. And so during that time, I got to know them better, and we became good friends, and it was a blessing to say the least. But before I left, the father, he hugged me, and he looked me in the eyes, and he said something I'll remember for the rest of my life. He told me, "You are the reason I'm alive today, and you're the reason my son has a father." And so I still think about these words to this day. Upon reflecting on this experience, I'm amazed at what God can do through simple obedience, through someone as unqualified as me with doubt-filled obedience. I'm also amazed at the series of events that led me to even stand before a church talking about money and giving. When just 4 years ago, I was someone who left the church, someone who never wanted to pick up a Bible again, someone who thought people should never give until they have millions in their bank, someone who thought this would be the last person to ever be standing before a church talking about God and talking about giving. But a single man's prayer changed the course of my life. While this is another story for another time, the point is this: truly, in the most unexpected of ways, God can transform you. God does not call the qualified, he qualifies those who are called. And so, dear church, my beloved brothers and sisters, I really hope that what I'm about to say, it serves as an encouragement. I can count countless stories of ways that God has worked, but if there's any message that I want to get across today, it is this: seek Jesus, be transformed, and live out a life of faith. If there's a lack of enthusiasm, God tells us he will show up when we seek him. Seek with consistency, as there's extravagance in what seems to be the mundane aspects of our faith. I've been meeting with a pastor here at ECBC for quite some time for discipleship, and he taught me the importance of having a consistency with my relationship with Jesus. He put it this way. He told me, like any relationship in life, There will be ups and there will be downs, days where we feel a strong connection and days where we feel not so much of a strong connection. But he told me, imagine you're on a boat, and on this boat, I need you to put up your sail every single day. There will be days when the wind catches and you'll soar further than you ever have, and you'll feel on fire and you're feeling amazing. And then there will be days where no wind catches at all. But I need you to put up your sail every single day. You can only catch that wind when you put up your sail. Likewise, there will be days when you're absolutely on fire for Jesus. Every prayer is being answered, and you cannot get enough of marveling at the cross. And there will be days where you wake up and you don't feel like praying at all. But I need you to put up your sail every single day. Go to your studies. Trust in him. It is worth it. And so I hope this story is an encouraging testimony and one that sparks action. Francis Chan says the Bible study is not done until we take action. And so don't get me wrong. Learning about God is great, but C.S. Lewis says that even the devil has tons of knowledge about God. But the difference with us is that we live out our faith and we love Jesus. John Owen says true knowledge of the gospel is not based on how many facts you've accumulated about the gospel, but rather your conformity to the gospel. And so I encourage you to hear out this story and live out the faith yourself. Not to simply talk about it, but to live a transformed lifestyle, one with a degree of separation from the world, so that even living among unbelievers, if they accuse us of doing wrong, they will see our honorable and set-apart behaviors as mentioned in 1 Peter. And so with all this in mind, know that you are not alone in this. I pray that the Holy Spirit works in his fullest operation as our advocate, our guide, and our teacher. And he speaks through us in every encounter before we meet our Maker and stand before him on the day of judgment. So may you never tire of doing what is right. May you never tire of marveling at the beauty of the cross. And may you uplift one another to strive to hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Thank you very much.